This town has been for a long time known as the town that refused to die. And I've chose to coin this town as the town that chose to thrive. If you tell the true story of Allensworth, then you would have to tell the story of this lake that was once here.
It was the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi, known as the Tulare Lake.
It had an abundance of everything. We had 3 villages around the lake.
Part of the law back then is if you could remove the water, you could possess the land. If you have to tell the story of this lake that was once here, you would have to tell the story of one of the largest genocides that happened on Earth.
They were killing our people off for land. Everything that they fought for was being taken away. Their language, the songs, their traditional dances, their ceremonies. If you wanted a piece of land, all you had to do is just go over there and kill the whole family. We're not farmers, we're caretakers of the land. Well, now we have a lot of farming, we have a lot of pesticides being sprayed.
Unfortunately, what we practice in the Central Valley of California is industrial monoculture agriculture. And in the last century of practicing that type of agriculture, it's absolutely decimated our soils, our air, and our water.
And these are all things that our communities need to live. They're what our community needs to grow nutrient-dense food. I personally don't like to use the word farming. I feel like farming is extractive and it's exploitive.
Like, we're surrounded by thousands of acres of pistachios, pomegranates, table grapes, almonds.
In order to harvest these nuts, they shake the trees, which creates dust. And then they have to have a machine come behind and pick the nuts that have fallen onto the ground up, which creates 10 times more dust than just shaking the trees. The air quality impacts people in many ways. Personally, my grandmother passed due to valley fever.
Their water is, it isn't good to drink. That's a part of colonization.
We used to drink the water 30 years ago, but the sweet taste, we now realize it was arsenic.
The founders of this community, 90% of them were ex-slaves.
They came here during Jim Crow, and their intention was basically to build themselves a safe haven to where they could grow their own food, they could do their own businesses, they could educate their children, all within a safe place.
The community was founded by educated folk. One of the first primary things they did was build a school. So education was the basis of the success then, and that's a part of the work that we're continuing to pursue.
It was a town based on sustainability, sovereignty, Black self-determination. It was not just a farming community, it was a community of innovation. And the industry which this community thrived on was the train. Like many places of that era, it was systematically shut down because water rights were reneged. That train spur was moved 3 miles down the road to the neighboring town. So without water and without your economy, the town began to die. The current Allensworth, I see it as the center for healing amongst a lot of our groups. We were done wrong by the same entity. We won't be taken down in the same ways that we were taken down before. As part of our resiliency plan, regenerative agriculture, land stewardship, biomimicry is really what we are moving forward towards. We mimic Mother Nature by following the blueprint of the indigenous and those before us. I like to think of it as agricultural stewardship, and we're giving back to the land so the land can continue to give back to us and our communities and provide clean water, clean air, clean soil, so we can grow clean food. We thought we were doing something that was so brand new and revolutionary because nobody else was doing it. Come to find out, we have it in Allensworth.
Sí, cuando llegamos acá era completamente blanco de alcalá y la gente decía, no, están locos, aquí no sirve nada, no se da. Pero comenzamos a trabajar la tierra, a aplicarle esto y fuimos entendiendo qué necesitaba la tierra. Fertilizantes y ceniza y otros ingredientes que miraba que la tierra necesitaba. Y aquí de estos animalitos sale la gran parte del fertilizante que le pongo a las plantas. Ellas son mis fábricas de fertilizante. Estamos ahorrando agua y no le echamos química, no echamos nada, así que la tierra está agradecida.
Y tenemos un producto bueno para consumir.
Y como una droga, también la química, el fertilizante químico es como una droga para la planta. Y el pistacho ahí lo que hacen es que avientan químicas y lo que hace es que están destruyendo el medio ambiente.
La tierra nos está enseñando qué necesita, así como nosotros necesitamos la comida diariamente, la tierra necesita que le demos atención todos los días. Tenemos aquí ya 22 años y todo ha ido mejorando, tanto que ahora lo que cosechamos lo compartimos con personas.
One of the plans that we have is to bring in a system called agrivoltaics. It's the combination of growing food with solar. So when you have just a scraped earth solar field, you're not helping at all with the dust issue that we have. You're actually making it worse. This provides us food sovereignty and it provides us power sovereignty, something that this community has never had.
We're at a crossroads and we're making decisions now on whether or not the Central Valley is even going to be habitable within the next 50 to 100 years. Like, we know what we're up against, we know the odds, we understand it, but now's the best time to be doing this work.
I see our youth growing up, understanding these principles and these practices. I see them going to school here, creating more opportunities here for themselves and their children's children, because this valley provides enough. The soil provides enough. The land provides enough for us all to do well. And if we educate ourselves on how to do this here, we'll be an example for the region, the state, and the country.
Yo pienso que es lo mejor que puede hacer uno, enseñarle a los hijos, a los pequeños, mira, la planta esto les hace daño, esto aquí, esto allá, educar nuestros hijos.
And today we have a relationship with the Allensworth community. I want to continue to build that relationship, and helping a community that not only helps themselves, they help everybody else.
We need to lock arms and we need to work together. Black, brown, indigenous, and we have established those relationships here in the region.
We are going to be a blueprint of what it takes to shake the dirt off, regroup, and become who we were meant to be. And other small disadvantaged communities will be able to look at us and say, if Allensworth can do it, we can do it.